When I retired from the military, I would find myself getting activated when people would thank me for my service. And the reason why is because as I was sitting on a flight line in Iraq and I was loading the coffins draped in flags into a cargo plane, the big question that I had for myself is, why are we here? Why are we killing people? Why are we losing people? Like, why are we really here? And what I realized is it's really for power and greed and people's egos. And when I woke up this morning and I realized that our military was being deployed to DC, it activated that same rage in me. If you really want to thank a soldier for their service, when people start to activate troops to send them to places like Iraq or even now DC, it is your job to ask, should they be there? And this is why I was getting angry when people were thanking me for my service, because it felt empty. And when I look at 6 governors, including the governor of Tennessee, where I lived, are deploying troops to DC, and they say it's to quell crime, which then begs the question, because you do not activate the National Guard unless you're saying that the resources on ground are overwhelmed and they can't do it. And so essentially what we are now doing is we are enacting martial law, saying that the DC police can't control crime. It's gotten so out of control that, oh my God, we need to bring in the military. And, having just been there a couple weekends ago, I can tell you we are not at that point. And so what I'm asking you is to contact your leaders. If your governor is one of the 6 Republican governors, and this is not against Republicans or Democrats, this is standing up against anyone who thinks that this is a good idea, who wants to misuse our military, who wants to send them into places where they don't belong. Because what this tells me is that our governors are weak, our military leaders are weak, our mayor of DC is weak if she can't control the crime in DC. Our police chiefs are weak if they can't control the crime in DC. But then it begs this other question, because now I see what they're doing. They're basically rounding up undocumented immigrants. And so to tell me that we're going in and we're doing this against crime, at least be honest about what you're doing. But this is where my anger comes from, because a lot of cultures have soldiers. They have this warrior archetype. This group of people that are supposed to protect their homeland. And when they start getting misused, it is an ethical dilemma. Sitting in Iraq going, we are killing people, we are being killed for what? Why are we here? And that's where, when soldiers come home and they hold this anger and they hold this depression and this sadness, it's because we're being misused. And so here is my ask for you today. If you, like me, don't believe that our military should be doing what our civilian police is tasked to do, then contact your governors, contact your leaders, put an end to it. Because, and I don't mean this to rile up any sort of fear, but what is going on right now, like I always say, lessons learned are not lessons learned. Lessons learned are things that we actually integrate. We actually, do it better next time. But this is exactly what we saw with Hitler. You take a group of people, you start to make them the scapegoats, so now we've made immigrants the scapegoats. You start to control the media, which we just saw that a few weeks ago, where now Trump is denying certain media outlets the ability to speak, to even be in the room, because they disagree with him. And then we start to deploy our military to invoke martial law. And this is not right. And somebody needs to stand up to this and call the bullshit flag on this, because it's bullshit. And we need to start thinking, instead of just allowing our leaders to do things like this. We need to start going, okay, is this fear that's being stirred up, is this something that I actually need to fear? Are there different ways to approach this? Even when we look at crime, you go, okay, like the criminals generally resort to crime because there's money involved in it and they're coming from poverty. We need to work with them in a way that shows, okay, like we want to inject love into these communities so that crime doesn't take hold. And so this is what I'm asking you. Contact your leaders, put an end to this deployment of military troops, of this martial law in places where they don't belong. And let's choose love. Let's choose solutions that actually get to the root of crime.